What is the allure of thin crust pizza? Pizza topping to dough ratio. Sometimes you want crispy crunchy and not big ol' floofy. The crunch. Also I eat pizza for the cheese and toppings, not the bread. Less bread, which means you get full slower, which means you can try more flavors. Less carbs. Instead of eating 70% crust, you get more flavor because there's less bread. You can also eat more slices before being full. More pizza per pizza. I don't want bread with pizza. I just want pizza. The taste and texture. I'm thin crust man myself. I don't want to eat 8 pounds of bread, I want the cheese and meats and veggies. It's so good. Can't lie, the only pizza I'll eat. I want pizza, not bread. Fewer carbs. Crunchy texture. Pizza Hut's thin crust tastes like delicious crackers. Just tastes better. Without all the bread you can really enjoy the toppings. Crispy, crunchy, light, delicious. More pizza, less dough, less bread, more toppings. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Yum. Exclamation mark. Crispness. Oh baby, that crisp crust. The crunch. It's just better. Woman shrugging. Crispier. If I wanted bread, I'd get a calzone or a sandwich. Better ratio of toppings to dough. Sometimes, I just want a crunchy texture instead of a chewy, bready texture. Agreed. Thin crust sucks. Give a real fucking ZA. My favorite, right now, is Chicago deep dish, so yeah. I actually don't like it. The crispy pepperoni on it though are delicious. Less bread and less filling so I can eat more of it. I love pizza. And thin crust helps that addiction. It's so delicious. Doughy pizza is gross. I love thin and crispy with just a little char. Why? Because of the crunchy feeling, and I can't stand doughy pizza. Crispity crunchery smiley face. I prefer the crunchiness of thin crust, not as filling, so I feel like can eat more pizza. Sometimes there's just too much bread, man. There is no better tasting crust than a thin one just removed from a brick oven. Just like my ancestors made in Italy. Better topping to bread ratio, and sometimes it's crunchy. I love the crispy crunchy of thin crust. It's better. Some people really enjoy crackers. There's nothing better than Napoli-style thin crust pizza. Less bread, more toppings. Also, the crisp bottom of the crust is the only part with the umami flavor, so the rest is just filler. Topping to bread ratio. Once I discovered thin crust pizza, I never went back. I can eat a lot more pizza for the same calorie intake. Stretches out the enjoyment. Crunchiness. I can't handle a huge amount of dough, so thin crust is perfect for me and easier to digest. Light, crispy, and tasty. The flavors of the sauce and cheese really shine. I like all kinds of pizza though. I mean, the original Italian Neapolitan style is thin with a thicker but more airy crust. Thin crust just took off the crust and expanded. I only really like thin crust because it's easier to eat and it's not doughy. Done right, it has a crispier texture. I also like bar pies because there's almost no crust and it's very crisp. I like the crispness of it and the fact that I can eat a lot of it. If I'm aiming for X calories of pizza, I get more pizza, by area, with thin crust than thick, and a higher ratio of topping versus bread. Less salt for those of us in renal and/or heart failure. I want more toppings and less bread. Pizza on a cracker is pretty awesome either way. All the toppings and less bread. You can pile multiple slices on each other more easily. To make a sandwich, or cake depending on layers of pizza. Variety. Many types of pizzas mean different pizza kinks. Just make sure you recycle the boxes. For me, the crust is just a medium to serve the toppings. Here in my country, pizza crust is usually thin. It's a vastly superior frozen pizza. Frozen deep dish is just a big tasteless crust of disappointment. Might as well minimize it and have something crispy. I'm told that it is crispier. Usually lower calorie when vegetarian and much faster to cook. Personally, I'm a fan of deep pan and stuffed crust vegetarian pizza. I'm not a fan of bready, chewy crusts. I like the crispness of thin crust pizza. Better topping to crust ratio for me. The crunch, and also I don't feel so bloated after eating it. Lower bread to cheese ratio. I hate doughy, gummy thick pizza crust. Thin crust is a safer bet for my picky palate. Bread is filler. I like bread, but I don't want to fill up on bread. I want to fill up on delicious pizza toppings. Crunch. It cooks faster so you can eat it sooner. Why would you want less pizza in your pizza?